The $20,000 fans inside the Staples Center were a single, unified roar just seconds ago. Now, a profound, crushing silence. The main event was reaching its peak. The champion was struggling, the challenger was poised, then the world ended. Not with a bang, but a flicker. The brilliant spectrum of arena lights, the flashing signs, the giant screen, all gone. The darkness was absolute, heavy, and immediate. It swallowed the noise, the energy, and the $15 years of history playing out in the ring. Confusion, then a shared, nervous ripple of whispers replaced the cheer. Every heart in the building was suddenly beating in isolation. For a heart-stopping minute, the collective breath of the crowd was held. Children gripped their parents' arms, the commentators fell silent mid-sentence, and the two warriors in the ring stood statuesque. This wasn't a show. This was a moment. The sudden loss of the spectacle magnified the physical presence of the thousands of people sharing the void. You could hear the distant faint sound of an ambulance siren outside, entirely alien to the wrestling universe. The air, thick with adrenaline and shock, pressed down on everyone, waiting for a signal, a voice, a sign that the reality had not completely ruptured. Then, a small solitary beam cut through the inky blackness. Not the giant spotlights, but a single old-fashioned follow spot struggling to illuminate the center ring. It was an island of orange-yellow light in an ocean of anxiety. The two wrestlers were still there, frozen like ancient monuments. The audience sighed a collective, gasping release. But the light didn't stay on them. It slowly, deliberately began to move, tracing a path not toward the entrance ramp, but across the first few rows of seats, lingering on a specific face. The spotlight settled on a young woman in the third row, her face contorted, not in fear, but in overwhelming, profound recognition. She wasn't an actor, she was just a fan. But in that light, her expression spoke volumes. It was as if the darkness had stripped away the performance and revealed a truth only she understood. The camera crew, working from the emergency light of their monitors, captured the look. It was a look of personal, shattering sorrow, a look that suggested the darkness wasn't technical, but narrative. Behind the curtain, the chaos was controlled, yet total. Producers were screaming into dead microphones. Executives were huddled, pale, and furious. But the conflict wasn't about the power grid, it was about the script. A veteran producer, known for his calm, was openly weeping, slamming his headset onto the concrete floor. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. He cried, his voice echoing in the unlit corridor. The two wrestlers in the back, scheduled for the actual main event tomorrow, watched the monitors, their faces grim, knowing the blackout was not a failure of equipment, but a calculated, deliberate act of sabotage. In the sudden power vacuum, the reigning champion, who was minutes from losing his title, walked calmly through the confusion. He bypassed security and producers, heading toward a single, heavy steel door marked Utilities Access. He didn't speak. He simply stood there and waited. When a junior technician, trembling, finally opened it, the champion handed him a note. The note contained two words: "End it." The champion didn't want the title. He wanted the narrative. He wanted the entire, suffocating, predictable system of the company to stop. The viral moment dominated everything. It wasn't wrestling news, it was global news. CNN, BBC, and the New York Times ran the image of the single spotlight on the random fan's face. Analysts debated the psychological impact of shared, instantaneous loss of control. Was it performance art? Was it a terrorist threat? The company line was a terse, single-sentence apology about an unforeseen electrical failure, but the narrative had slipped away from them. The fans, sensing a deeper, unacknowledged truth, created a million memes and theories, cementing the blackout as an iconic, unexplainable moment in pop culture. The challenger, robbed of his crowning victory, sat alone in his hotel room, not angry at the lost title, but burdened by a deeper, older pressure. His legendary father had won his own first title in the same arena $30 years ago. The Blackout was more than a delay. It was a cosmic joke on his lineage. He didn't answer calls from management. Instead, he stared at a faded photograph of his father, realizing the pressure to win wasn't just about the belt, but about escaping the long, perfect shadow of the past. The darkness had swallowed his future. 1 week later, the main event was rescheduled. The lights worked. The roar returned. But everything had changed. The fans were different, quieter, more observant. They weren't just watching the fighting. They were looking for the out-of-script moment. They had been given a taste of reality's intrusion, and they couldn't unsee it. When the challenger finally pinned the champion, the victory felt muted, almost obligatory. The real show had been the week before, in the silence and the dark, a moment of unintended, shared vulnerability that transcended the show. The young woman from the third row, the one illuminated by the solitary spotlight, was never named or contacted. She was simply a symbol. Years later, she would tell her own children that the Blackout was the most honest moment she ever witnessed. The sudden silence, the shared anxiety, and the raw sorrow on her own face, captured and broadcast, revealed that even the mightiest spectacle is dependent on the most fragile thing, the simple flow of power. The true championship was not the belt, but the emotional connection forged in the moment when the artifice collapsed, leaving only a collective, human experience.